So a little bit about this program for those of you who are joining us for the first time. These virtual studio visits are presented by Orange County Arts Council in partnership with Newburgh Free Library. They are coordinated by our Arts Outreach Committee, which is a wonderful committee. You might know some of the members. It's over 30 arts leaders and arts ambassadors throughout Orange County that help put this together. And that committee is chaired by Janet Howard Fada. So these studio visits have opened up physically and literally and figuratively so many doors for us to be able to really provide access and education to behind the scenes for artists in Orange County. Programs like this are only possible through donations from people like you. If you would like to consider supporting programs like this, please visit our website, www.ocartscouncil.org. So thank you all again for joining us. I see many of you just signed on for this studio visit with Claire Gilliam. I would like to introduce to you the facilitator of this program this evening, Janet Howard Fada. Thank you all again so much for joining. And Janet, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. That was a great intro. I'm very excited to have Claire Gilliam here, is a friend of mine here in Warwick, New York. And I thought I'd start off by reading you her bio. Claire Gilliam was born in England and has lived in the United States since 1999, becoming an American citizen in 2017. In 1997, she graduated from Sheffield Hallam University in the UK with a BA in fine art and completed a professional certificate in photography at Rockport College, Maine in 2000. She has studied with photographers such as Arno, Minkkinen and John Goodman, as well as master gelatin silver printer Chuck Kelton and master printmaker Vijay Kumar. She is an assistant for photographer Barbara Mensch, and in the fall of 2019, Claire became co-president of Manhattan Graphic Center, a non-for-profit artist-run printmaking studio in Midtown Manhattan. Her work has been shown in Europe and USA and is held in several private and public collections, including the ICP Library Print Collection and the Goethe Institute. In 2014 and 2015, several of her works were included in touring exhibition entitled Embody the Gender Issue, and throughout several cities across India and Sri Lanka. In 2019, she exhibited her solo exhibition, Lifelines, at Amity Gallery, which I got to see in person. And she makes her home in studio in Warwick, New York with her husband, Eugene Lynch, and 2 English Springer Spaniels.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's really nice to participate in these studio tours with the Orange County Arts Council, and I really thank Janet and Sarah for inviting me to participate in this. So come on in. I thought I would just give you a very quick glance, and then we'll tour a little bit more. So these are drawings that I made on vellum paper. This is like the largest drawings I've done. I made these a couple of years ago. So if you come around here, I have a wall of inspiration stuff, work that I've been, ideas that I'm thinking of, work that has inspired me by other people, ideas, like in sketchbook. I don't really work in sketchbooks generally, although more lately I have made that more of my practice, but I tend to collect paper and stick it up. So this is the space. This used to be a ramshackle garage building that we demolished and built this on the original foundation. And Jean designed it so that it had this knee-high horse, I don't know what you call it. But anyway, it enabled us to have this ginormous space in our garage building, and it became my studio. It was like the perfect space for it. And I have a nice view, skylight windows, and I love being up here. The light is just wonderful. So let me see. My work, I've kind of had a through theme in my work since I began as an artist years ago. As Janet said, I studied in Sheffield Hallam University, studying fine art, and I it was primarily printmaking and painting at that point, but I went into the darkroom quite a bit and experimented with more conceptual pieces. I mean, I think I've always used myself in my work for the most part, and I've just developed that through the years. I really began to love photography, and I ended up doing a year's photography at Kingston University after my degree, because I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. And this unique course appeared on my doorstep, as it were, and I decided to check it out, and I got in. There were only 10 people accepted, and I really delved into photography. It wasn't very craft-based. I mean, we worked in the darkroom, but it wasn't that technical. It was still ideas-based. Oh, I should have said, in Sheffield, the work had a very conceptual bent to it. And we were really encouraged to focus on ideas and concept behind work, and not just the craft. In fact, I don't feel like I learned my craft in Sheffield. It was more developing my eye as an artist and ideas. And then through the years since, that's where I feel like I've really developed my craft. Anyway, so after Kingston, I went to, in Kingston I met a friend of mine, Charlie, who may even be on the Zoom meeting. Hello, Charlie, if you're on there. I know you said that you were going to join this evening. But she introduced me to the Maine photographic workshops. And so on a whim that summer, I signed up for it, for a workshop with Arno in Minkkinen. And who really, his work was very, well, he just photographed himself. And he was amazing. It, like, eye-opening. It was amazing to me. And then I met so many amazing people that I decided to stay on, and I did the professional certificate in photography there, and really developed my black and white printing. I really fell in love with it. And for the next years, that was all I wanted to do, was photography. So let me see. Let me show you some really early work that I made at Sheffield. These are Polaroid images. I keep a lot of my old work out very often, just to refer back to ideas that I may have had in the past but haven't developed, and I keep wanting to come back to them one day. So these are very old self-portraits, and at the time I was very into performance art and dance and conceptual pieces. And it was the era of the young British artists who were kind of wild and experimental, and it was just a time for experimentation. So I made these Polaroids. So that's I think that's from like 1998 actually, but I'm still playing around with these. Let's see. So then after Rockport, I did various workshops, and one of the workshops I did was with John Goodman, and Jean had just given me this amazing Hasselblad camera, and I was totally scared of using it because it was medium format and I didn't know how to use it, and I'm really not a very technical person, so I was totally intimidated by it in a way. But I took it with me on this workshop, and John Goodman said, "Get that camera out and use it, Claire." So I did, and he also encouraged me to really experiment, and I even went as far as to take off my clothes. And this body work is called I Am My Body, and I still love this series. And it was in front of the famous stucco wall in an old building in Maine. I think it's not there anymore, but that wall was just an amazing wall. So I made these images of me moving around in a very tight space because I had a very small, cable release for the camera. So they ended up looking quite tortured, which kind of was great for the emotional concept of the work. And I didn't print these for a number of years until I met Chuck Kelton at ICP. And I ended up working with him for a number of years, printing work, including these pieces. And also over here is a couple of pieces from my series called In Memory. Most of them are very nudie, so I won't show those. But these are a couple of the pieces. And I've taken a lot, and then the work subsequently from this, I build on ideas a lot. And so I took these images and I began to, my old work prints from all these, and began cutting them up to get the shapes of my body and silhouettes. And I also, I don't know if you can see this, but I was also drawing. I have to say that around this time, I became a TA at ICP, and I TA'd a class for Barbara Mensch, black and white, amazing photographer. And she was teaching a class called Fine Art and Photography, The Crucial Link. And we went to museums and we drew and we did a lot of drawing. And it kick-started this whole new era of my work, because it took me back to my degree when I was drawing and printmaking. And I really wanted to take my work in a slightly different direction and incorporate these things that I'd seen at the Met and MoMA, and just think about fine art in general, not just the narrow field of photography. And so that was how I ended up. Sorry, I'm moving all over the place here, but I have a lot of work. I made this series, The Blue Woman, and as I said, these were cut silhouettes from my own self-portrait work. And at the time I made these, I was actually going through a lot of, I'd had a lot of loss in the family and a lot of illness. And I was really thinking about the fragility and the strength of the human body. And then on top of that, I was thinking about the broken sculptures I'd seen at the Met in this class I was TAing, and it's all kind of culminated with with simplifying the forms down, the same kind of ideas of identity and well, I was exploring identity and the idea of the how other people perceive you. Like, you may have a different perception of how you are versus how people see you. So, you know, and I was using my body experience, and this has been going on for years, and gradually I've tried to whittle it down to its essentialness, and I felt like this work was where it really kind of came together. I also did this large full-size body photograms, a series called Conundrum, and I don't have any in my studio, but I do have my book here, and you can see some of these. These are life-size in actuality. My good friend Christina helped me design this book. Yeah, I was quite pleased with this body of work. And this was also where I began to incorporate my love of text and words, and trying to get those to fit in with my work. Let's see. So around the same time, as I said, I began to get interested in printmaking, and I'd been to an exhibition in England where I'd seen this amazing Anthony Gormley etching, just a simple body form, and I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could create these ginormous copper plates etchings of my body conundrum photogram pieces. Well, you know, I had done printmaking since my degree, and I had no idea really what was involved with it and how time-consuming it was and how difficult that would be, let alone working with a copper plate, like 3 foot. So I started small, and this is where I took the Blue Woman series and turned them into etchings with the same sort of idea. It was really difficult. It was a very different way of thinking and working. And this work that you're seeing here is actually old work that I've reworked in lockdown. So this is the actual imagery itself is older prints that I had in my studio, and I've taken ink and brush and written on them the alphabet, which I'll talk about shortly.
So these are etchings, Claire, that you worked on top of? Yes,
yes.
And this came after the book that you just showed us, the Conundrum. That was a printed book from large scale work?
Yes. The Conundrum book that I showed you, those were gelatin silver photographs or photograms. So they were made in the darkroom. And obviously I had to scale down for the book, but yes, that was offset printed, and that was a real adventure going to get that book made. I had that made for a portfolio review in Houston, and it was a way of being able to show people that work without having to lug these ginormous prints down. I did take 1 or 2. But yeah, I don't know, perhaps you could see, I have a photograph, no, you can't really see it. Anyway, yeah, so these were made in like 2015, Conundrum was 2012, 2013, I think. Yeah, where was I? Any questions so far? I feel like I'm just talking. And
so those prints that you just showed us, those were done in 2015, and these are etchings with
yeah, 2015, 2016, you know, I worked on them. Printmaking is a slow process, so I would go to the print studio at Manhattan Graphics Center once a week, and I would get one of these made, maybe one a month, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I was really learning. I didn't really quite know. I didn't have the skills at that point, and it was thanks to my teacher, Vijay Kumar, who really helped me with these.
Yeah.
I see Erica just said, ask me something.
You can talk more about yourself.
Oh, about myself. Oh, what do you want to know?
I think Erica had asked about your alphabet series that had.
Oh yes, I'm coming to that. I was just going to yes. So the alphabet series is incorporated into these old prints. Now the alphabet series is something new that I started early this year. I was thinking about language. I've been thinking about language for a while now, and you can see there's some of these pieces, that piece, and there's one on the other wall that Jean will slowly swivel around to at some point. But I called those a means to communication, and it was like this foreign language, and I was really thinking about, well, these times that we're living through right now, they're very, I feel communication is so essential, and yet we're really having a difficult time connecting with one another. And particularly with the lockdown, I've been thinking about loneliness as well, and how language connects us. And if you don't have language, or you then who are you, and how are you connecting with other people and communicating? I was thinking the other day, and I hadn't thought about this, and when I first started the series, but I suddenly realized that my dad had developed aphasia, which is sort of I guess it's you forget language. You don't know how to formulate words, and my dad had always been a very communicative, very intellectual kind of, I don't know, intellectual, but you know, he could always communicate ideas very well. And suddenly near the end of his life, he developed this illness that caused him not to be able to form words. And so that, I think, is also part of this series, I realise. And the need to be able to speak. I have a quote actually that I was going to read.
Please do.
So I had this quote, and I think it was from. I normally write down where I get these from, but for some reason I didn't. I think it was. Oh gosh, her name's gone out of my head. It will come to me. But anyway, she wrote, "The idea that language is a game at which some players are more skilled than others has a bearing on the vexed relationship between loneliness and speech. Speech failures, communication breakdowns, misunderstandings, mishearings, episodes of muteness, stuttering and stammering, word forgetfulness, even the inability to grasp a joke, all things invoke loneliness, forcing a reminder of the precarious, imperfect means by which we express our interiors to others. They undermine our footing in the social, casting us as outsiders, poor or non-participants. So that seemed to, I don't know, that really resonated with me. And as I say, with our times that we're living in, and also the immigration crisis at the border, and just foreignness and different languages, and not being able to speak your language in this country. This is what this work is about, and I'm still kind of trying to formulate what it's all about. But the alphabet, I will say that all these is the Latin alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know, it's there are no other letters or characters that I'm using, and I'm also using both my left and my right hand, and my right hand is particularly semi-paralyzed, so I don't have much control. So I've really been exploring that with this work, and how you read the letters and whether they make sense or not, and how you read them. Like some of them, I've written them backwards, and I don't know. I'm sort of exploring that. Like I said, it feels like this is in the early stages of work, but this is where I'm at.
What materials are you working with, Claire?
Pardon?
What materials are you working with?
Oh, okay. So these are just, it's sharp yarn satin vellum. This is ink and brush. This is pencil. And then these are made in the darkroom from drawings that I made on paper. And I started the series. I'll just tell you a little story. When I was at the Printmaking Centre just before we shut down, I was speaking with my good friend Maggie about a piece of work that I had made that was just lines, and they were very expressive, and a lot of people thought that they looked like Arabic writing in some way. And because I'm left-handed, I was also very curious as to whether the lines would look and feel different and read differently as a visual language if you start from the right to the left, or whether you start from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom. And that was sort of how I was beginning to think about letters and language. And I'm looking at other countries' alphabets too. That's the next stage. I've just started looking at the Greek alphabet. And you wouldn't believe how difficult it is to actually learn a new, well, for me it's really difficult to learn a new alphabet.
Amazing.
Language has always been difficult for me. And I suppose this is something I hadn't considered, but thinking about my own history, I was involved in a car accident when I was a baby, and I apparently had to learn how to speak again, and I had speech therapy. And so the idea of language, I guess, is it resonates with me deeply. And that's where the personal connection comes in with this, because I had been thinking that this was quite different work for me because it didn't have that personal connection. But I realized that it does very much so have this deep personal connection. I started the series making a little book of, it's upside down. And alphabet there is written with my right hand. And I wrote the alphabet, that's with my right hand. That's how I started. Left hand is on the left side of the sketchbook, right. And then I began to just play. It was hard work writing with your non-dominant hand. But it kept me occupied during the lockdown and the winter months. And I was experimenting here with writing the alphabet upside down, from top to bottom, right to left, and how it reads differently visually, and whether you can understand it still.
John Parrott is fascinated by your speech language and communication dimension. He
Hi,
said,
John.
having worked for many years with children and language problems, the quotation in your thoughts really resonate with my perception of their experiences.
Huh.
And Aurora Robinson is curious if any of the earlier pieces that you had shown us on the wall are available for sale, and how would she find out what you are charging for them?
Yes, I can, you can contact me through my website, or message me through, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Yeah, I would love to talk to you, Aurora. Okay, so yeah, I don't know where we're at time-wise. I feel like I've been talking for a long time.
So did you want to maybe talk a little bit about why you became an artist?
Oh, well, it's just something that I've always loved to do. You know, at school, my favorite subject was arts. I mean, I loved English and geography, but art was something that I just was very drawn to. And I was never one of those artists that was very exacting. I just loved to play, and I would paint and not worry about whether I was getting an exact image of something. It just seemed natural to me that would be the field that I would go into. When I was applying for my degree, I did also apply for a teaching. It was a fine art and teaching degree, and I did get into that, and then I decided, no, I don't think I want to go into teaching. I just want to focus full time on art. It wasn't really I don't know, it was just something that I've always loved and felt the need to do.
One of the series that I didn't see today was, you know, from your brain series from MRI, and I thought, I know your work, so.
Oh, yes. So as I've already mentioned, a lot of my work is deeply personal to my own experience. And a few years ago, I went for an MRI for my brain. It wasn't anything serious, but they just wanted, I guess the neurologist said, well, you know, you had this accident when you were a baby. Let's see what's going on there now. And so I had these MRIs done, and I looked at them, and it was actually the very first time I'd seen my brain injury in person. And there was this ginormous hole in my brain, which I knew I had, but you know, it was like actually seeing it for the first time was quite shocking to me. And so I started drawing from these MRIs, and I have it. This was one time when I actually did start sketching, and I have the book here. But what you're seeing now are the etchings and the prints that I made out of those first drawings. And they became far more abstracted and became more about energy and neurons and the idea of information flow. I named it my brain book.
Claire, Chris
You know,
wants to know if you could speak more on the reasoning or the concept behind left and right hand writing.
Oh, well, I'm not really an expert on this, except to say that my left hand is I can use very well, and the right hand I cannot use. I can't grasp things, and so holding a pencil is quite difficult for me. But I'm intrigued with that, and whether you can train your brain in a way to sort of get better. And having done these drawings for the past few months, I'm not sure my writing got any better. You know, it was very tiring. I was surprised at that. I thought that, you know, some days I was able to have more control, and other days I didn't. Is that what you meant? I'm not sure if I answered your question.
I answered it.
I'm not a scientist, so
I think that was a good answer.
I didn't hear that. Oh, okay. Oh, phew. If you want to see some of the original brain sketchings, I mean, I never considered myself a very good drawer, to be honest with you, but I did get into doing some, and I did some etchings that were very exacting to the MRIs. I actually don't have them in my studio.
Claire, do you have a daily practice?
I'm not as rigorous as some artists. No, not really. I mean, I try, and I'm always thinking about my art and making art. But sometimes I used to give myself a very difficult time that I wasn't making art. But then I realized that that's part of my process, that I need to sit and think about these, think about what I'm doing before I go in. Like now I'm on a roll with the alphabet, so I am trying to make art most days, you know. And this lockdown has been, actually, I can't say I've had a difficult time. I've been very lucky. I've got my studio and my dark room here, and I've been able to just think about my work.
Mm. So how do you manage your time?
Well, I try and get on with the jobs that I need when I first wake up. I wake up quite early, no idea what the jobs I need, and then I try and get into my studio, the dark room, and spend a few hours working. And I tend to work during, well, it's all gone a bit out of the window with lockdown because the days are merging into one. But when the family were out working, then my weekends would be, I wouldn't really tend to work on weekends. I would just focus on working here. And then every Friday I would go to the Manhattan Graphic Centre. So I always had that, knowing that I had that day of working if I didn't manage to get into the studio.
How long have you had your studio?
I've had my studio, when did we build it? I don't know, I think I've had my studio for 10 years maybe. And my darkroom, I think we built the darkroom before the studio. So I've always had a darkroom. So I've always had a space to work. And in fact, this space isn't heated. So in the winter, I tend not to work in the studio. I work in my living room or in the darkroom. So I can give you a tour of the darkroom if you would like.
Greg asked, how many pieces do you throw away?
How you know what? I tend not to throw a lot of pieces away. Even my rubbish pieces, I think that I can save or like rework, or I'm not quick to make a judgment on it. I like to live with the piece before I say bye or yes, this works for me. Like with some of these etchings with the figures, they were actually maybe not the best prints going, but I've been able to rework them. So had I not kept them and just thrown those away, I wouldn't have had that material to work with. So.
How do you store stuff?
I'm really enjoying mark making, and this is scoring, this is gelatin silver paper with ink, this is crayon, and I tend to repeat. I'm very repetitive with.
Fred Mershmer asks, are you still working with photography?
Yes, and in fact, what you're looking at right now is a gelatin silver print. So I don't use a camera. I make camera-less work. My love is working in the darkroom printing, and so and this is my latest work, the alphabet pieces. I will take the drawings and then go into the darkroom with them and see what happens. I'm very experimental like that. Shall we go to the darkroom?
Yeah. Oh, somebody asked, who inspires you?
Oh, I have a lot of influences. I made the list because I can't remember everyone, but some of my early influences were painters like Newton Freud and Jenny Saville. You know, painters that really would explore the body in their work in whatever form that would take. So sometimes that would be performance art or dance or painting or and then I particularly like the work of Marlene Dumas and Louise Bourgeois. And particularly right now I'm really into the work of Terry Winters. I really like the idea of grids of work. So I don't know whether people are familiar with Terry Winters, but he's a he had a great show maybe 2 years ago at the Drawing Centre that's really resonated with me. All sorts of people influence me. Any other questions? I can answer them as we're walking to the dark room.
So you're still exploring the lettering.
Oh yes, yeah. I feel like this is just it's not the start, but I'm nowhere near finished with it. I feel like it's beginning to evolve into something exciting. So we'll see. I mean, I've got the world's alphabets to get through, so I've got a lot of work to do. Sorry.
Has your work changed since COVID?
I haven't been able to do printmaking because we had the studio closed. But I've been doing a lot of drawing, and I'm just getting back into the darkroom.
I have another question here. John Parrott asks, when you use text in your work, what came first, text? What came first, text or your creative work?
Well, with the alphabet is the work, but I think probably, that's a hard question. I think probably the imagery first, and I like to experiment with that. I've always written a bit, and I've always loved artists that explore text and image. So it's hard to know whether or not what came first. But alphabet, definitely the text came first. So this is the dark room, and this is the light side. And there's one of my images that I made in Maine with John Goodman. I just thought I'd give you a glimpse into my workspace here. It's great. We have curtains to make dark hide dark. So I have two enlargers. I have a 35mm medium format enlarger, and then one that you can print 4x5s. Hi, welcome to my dark room. This is where the magic happens. Well, sometimes. But after I made a photographic print, I will tone the image. And toning means that, well, it serves two purposes really. One is to give it a colour shift. For example, my series, The Blue Woman, I used iron toner, which is blue, and it gives you this deep blue colour. And other toners are for more archival purposes, and which is often selenium toner or gold toner. They're the ones I tend to use the most. And today, with my alphabet series, which is new, as I've already mentioned, I'm thinking about old manuscripts and scripts, and thinking that T-toning might be the way to go with this series. So I thought I'd give a little quick demo of two-toning for you and see whether I like the colour, quite honestly. Let's see. Two-toning is different in that it doesn't give archival properties, but it actually stains the paper completely. So with other toners like selenium, it will affect the silver in the paper, but two-toning doesn't change the composition of the silver in the paper, it just stains the paper. So the entire paper, including the back, will turn brown or a brown tone. So that's what we're going to try. So I have a number of prints that are soaking in the water. They have to soak for a few minutes so that the two-tone will actually absorb into the paper. So I've had them toning for a little while, and I'm going to try. I actually should wear gloves. Let me get some. Let's see. I had to get them from the right side. My trusty yellow gloves that I use for all my photographic processes. Always clean when you tone. Okay, so I had the timer going, and I haven't done this for a while, but I'm going to put this piece into the toner. This is just your bog standard black tea. I think I put about 6 tea bags into 2 litres of hot water and let it cool, and then I've added more water to it to just dilute it a little. And I think we will just keep it in here until I get the desired tone. And that could be 2 minutes, could be 10 minutes. Don't worry, I'll edit this film if it ends up being 10 minutes. And I have some more tea at the ready if this is too dilute. So I just keep the paper flipping through. I agitate the paper through the liquid. Like this. And as I said, I'm kind of looking to get a soft brown, like it's an old faded manuscript feeling. And I have a number of prints here on 2 different kinds of photographic paper. So this is a paper called Burger, but my favourite is an Ilford paper, which gives very nice charcoaly tones. They're both warm tone, and they should take the tea quite nicely. I must say that I'm pretty ad hoc with my process. I go a lot with my gut instinct and just my feeling of whether I like something. I'm not overly technical. I follow the rules to an extent, and then let the process I go with the flow basically. Obviously, if I'm doing with these unique pieces, I can afford to do that. But if I'm making this an edition where the photographs have to look all the same, then I had to make detailed notes and make sure I'm keeping to the same time. Some photographers would be horrified by my methods, but I like to experiment and play. So I'm seeing that this is turning a little brown. I think I might throw this in the water bath and see what I have. So I don't know whether you can see this, but that's a light brown tonality. I'm gonna just stick it in there for a moment. And now I'm going to do a print of the other kind of paper, the Ilford paper. So this is a large image. This is Ilford warm tone semi-matte. And I'm going to just put that in there and see how that changes. That's kind of interesting. I'm getting the black border is turning a deep blue. Wow. I did not expect that. Must be the tannin and the tea reacting with the silver, I suppose. Let me see if I can get this out. So it looks, it's a trick of the light. It hasn't toned yet. I'm going to keep this in for a while. I think I might do it for another 4 minutes. So I don't know whether you can see. I should have shown it to you before I put it in the toner, but you can see it's slightly brownish. It's a bit orange. It might be a bit too orange for my liking. But that's the beauty of toning, and what I enjoy the most about being in the darkroom is the experimentation. It really smells of tea in here, which is a very different kind of smell than I'm used to. Now you can see when it begins to absorb into the paper, because the white here is getting a nice brown tone. I think I might leave it at that. So that's been 3 minutes. For this one. So this is a very light tone about it, but it's sort of nice. I'm also considering toning with a sepia tone, which does affect the silver. it's a bleach and it's a reductive process. So you use bleach and then a toner to bring the blacks back in. So that will affect the silver, not just the paper surface. And I'd be interested to see what kind of effects I get there. However, it's not a process I've done in many, many, many years, so I'm not going to demonstrate it today because I need to learn it again. So this is quite nice, but I won't be able to tell until it's dry. But there's something, it has quite a nice quality about it. Hi everyone. Gosh, I'm really not very technically challenged. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Really nice to see everyone. Gosh.
Well, how do you seek out artistic opportunities, Claire?
The last couple of years I've had the philosophy that I just want to make the work and just focus on making the work, and I keep an open mind, and I apply to things that I see online, Google entries. I was very fortunate that I was asked to have the show at Amity Gallery last year, and that came from a show that I had in Middletown, the abstract show, the group show in Middletown, and Rosalind Fassett saw my work and invited me to show at Amity, and then at other times, you know, I keep my eyes and ears open for things.
Well, it shows that you're focused on the work. That's how I feel.
Well, thanks. I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah, the depth of it.
Yeah, I'm not very I'd say I'm not very business minded, so I just like working on doing the work and hoping for the best, that avenues will open and be there.
Mm-hmm. Let me look through the questions here.
Where do you get your paper?
Oh, the photographic paper I buy from B&H and have it delivered. That's in New York. Other paper I buy from Blick. I used to buy paper from New York Central, but since they closed, I've just buy it online, basically from Blick. I think I have also bought some from Tallis. The satin vellum paper I ordered from Tallis and have it delivered. That's one of my favourite papers. When I discovered satin vellum, the world kind of opened up for me, because I was to use it in the darkroom, but I also loved it as a drawing on paper as well.
So much of your work is deeply personal. I think that there might be an interesting difference for someone who might know its deeper dialogue and see it uniquely. How does that resonate for you?
Ooh, well,
We've got really tough questions for you today.
Yeah, it's that's a difficult question to answer, because when I'm making the work, I'm not thinking, oh, this has to resonate with other people. It's just I don't know whether I'm going to answer I'm not sure I fully understand your question. I think that there might be an interesting difference for someone who might know it's deeper. Oh, well, you mean somebody that knows my history and my story? Is that what you possibly mean? I don't know. That's a hard question.
Chris, do you want to unmute yourself? No.
Sure. After those other dialogues that were going on, I was a little nervous, but who knows what could happen in the background. No, I was asking in terms of someone who knows your deeper your story versus someone who does not. So if someone who does not and is just looking at your work is going to see it in I think in a very different way. So for instance, when I first started looking at your work, I was not looking at it through that with those eyes of knowing that the background story. And now I'm looking at it and I'm seeing it differently.
I always hope that you don't need to know my personal story and the backstory behind the work. The work should speak for itself. But I hope that it does add, once you know my personal story, it might have a little, as you say, a more of a deeper understanding of where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I had that experience too with your work, because the first time I saw it was when you submitted to the mini print exhibition, and I didn't know you at all then, but now I know all these things about your life, and it does add another layer to everything. At first, I think it was your recent series that you had, and with the brain scans, MRI,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't know that at all. I thought it was more of an abstract piece, and now that I know that, it really does add another huge layer to it.
Oh, that's interesting to hear. I mean, I didn't want the work to be about the MRIs, and about my brain injury, but it's always a starting point to get beyond that. So, and that's where I really hope it resonates with people.
Claire, I was going to say also the way that you use those pieces and those pieces of your story, but in a way that's very universal and kind of lyrical, I think is really beautiful. So it makes me think like the way Louise Bourgeois has worked and woven those things into her work, or someone like Frida Kahlo. Like they're just these things that are, the story is part of it, but it's not the thing. It's the work is what's magic, has a magic in it, like an alchemy. Anyway, I think it's very interesting, the new direction with the text in the body and the overlaying. I think it's very exciting to see it, because I've only seen snippets of it since we've all been in lockdown, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I also thinking about it because I hadn't really sat down to formulate what Alphabet was all about. I mean, I knew where it began, but I was thinking about all these other personal things, like my dad, and then about connecting with Maggie and the language and loneliness, and I just realized that there's a lot more to it than I had, that's what
I think that's so great. That's like it's almost like the work is directing you in this place, that it's just all the pieces are there and they've been there, with different bodies of work. But I was thinking as you were doing your presentation, there is the thing that struck me was this, all the work has this underlying theme of connection and how things connect, whether it's the brain imagery and what's connecting inside of, neurons, or language and how we connect with language, and how we, language is a structure and it's a facilitator, and how we represent language and record language. There's a lot of, and your earlier work where you recorded language on top of your body, and I know there's some very interesting underlying things about that. I thought just connection and connecting points. And it's true, I think it's interesting at a time where everything is so disconnected. We've been forced as a species to just be away from each other, which is not our normal. I don't know how everyone else feels, but I'm starting to feel like it's very weird that everything is in 2 dimensions, and I have to speak to my family now. I can't even fly home to Australia. I can only connect in these certain ways now. And yet all these friends I have, I used to live in France, who are contacting me, and so we're connecting through the internet. So we are more connected, but less connected. So there's this strange paradox happening, I think.
It is, yeah.
Anyway,
Right.
that's what brought up.
I've been finding that fascinating. And it wasn't intentional that alphabet work started at this time. I don't know. It's funny how your process can work. Like,
Yes.
you're supposed to make the work when it wants to be made, and it happens to be in lockdown. It wasn't like, oh, I'm in lockdown, I'm thinking about loss of connection and blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's why I love art. That's why I love the visual arts and all that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Claire.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. And Claire, we will be checking in with you and visiting your website. And I posted your website in the chat.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and stay in touch, people.